Hello and welcome to the Phillips Watches Podcast. I'm your host, Logan Baker, and I'm joined here today by Mr. Karl-Friedrich Scheufele, the co-president of Chopard and president of Ferdinand Berthoud, as well as my colleague, Mr. Alex Ghotbi, the head of watches for Phillips in Europe and the Middle East. And today we're talking about Chopard, Ferdinand Berthoud, the legacy of Mr. Scheufele's family at the brand, and the Naissance du Montre, one of the most interesting and astonishing watchmaking projects in recent history.
1,050,000 going once, 1,050,000 going twice.
So to start us off, I'd like to ask Mr. Scheufele a little bit about the beginning of his time at Chopard. Your family acquired the brand in 1963 when you were 5 years old, I believe, correct?
Very true. In 1963, my father acquired Chopard, or rather a very small outfit, very small company that was based in Geneva at that time and run by the le petit-fils of Louis Chopard, so the grandson of the founder. And basically it was a very small workshop, and my father had been looking around for quite a while to acquire a Swiss, or rather Geneva-based company, as Geneva for him was very important. And I come from a family background, fourth generation, a company that we still have in Germany, where we made watches using Swiss movements. We bought movements from many Swiss companies, including Blancpain and others, very small movements, made beautiful jewelry watches, but also dress watches. And at one point, my father said the only future is to move to Switzerland and acquire a company and then properly launch a brand, which in 1963, that was not really commonplace. It was rather a very daring move in a way. So they were in Geneva and visited a few companies. The last one on the list was Chopard. And Mr. Chopard never answered the phone until one Sunday when they were just about to leave Geneva, and they kind of gave up on the idea for the moment. So he answered the phone, and Monday morning they had an appointment in Saint-Jean, not too far away from here. And I think 2 weeks later, the deal was made. And this is how the Scheufele family came to Chopard. And I grew up with watchmaking conversations at lunch or dinner at home. And in Germany, I lived very close to our company, so I could go there by bicycle, and I used to play with watch parts in the watchmaking atelier, and I remember doing collage with watch parts, because my other passion at that time still there were cars. So I would make these cars with watch parts, and so just to illustrate that I was kind of born into the watch industry, as you speak, and I've stayed there ever since.
That's amazing. So growing up around a watch brand and jewelry brand is one thing, but fast forward to the 90s and you're investing into building your own movement manufacturer. What was the impetus for that?
Well, in the late 90s, or even quite a little bit earlier, I really sensed that in order to be recognized, in order to play an important role in the watchmaking field, you had to create your own movements. And this was not something that was really acknowledged at that time. I think we were quite early. And I convinced my family to follow me on this project, and managed to put together a team with, as the first mission was to create a first very interesting automatic movement with a micro rotor, and this movement is kind of a legendary movement, at least within the world of Chopard, but I think it has gone beyond now. It's called L.U.C 196. And in order to be kind of invisible at that time, we preferred to relocate this project to Fleurier, which was a very quiet place then. And we rented a small space from Swatch Group. And in the beginning, with the help of Mr. Parmigiani, we started working on this project, then internalized it. And in 1996, basically, we presented the first automatic movement, micro rotor, twin barrel. I think it was quite an interesting package at the time. It probably still is, because it was chronometer certified, and it was up to Geneva seal standards, and so that was the beginning of what we call Chopard Manufacture in Fleurier, and this company grew to a size. Today we have we count about 250 collaborators, and subsequently a number of movements followed, one of which you're wearing on your wrist.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm wearing the Chopard L.U.C Sport 2000. I purchased it a few months ago, and absolutely loving it so far. So, Alex, what was the reaction from collectors in the 90s when Chopard came onto the scene with the L.U.C series and the Caliber 196?
When I was listening to Mr. Scheufele, it brought back a lot of memories of in the 90s when I was much younger and had just started working. The young professionals in their mid-20s, the men wanted to have a Mille Miglia, and the women wanted to have a Happy Diamond watch.
Of course.
So it was always there, the brand. But it's true with the arrival of the L.U.C 196, it was a game changer. At the time, the only watch forum that existed was Time Zone, and I remember when the movement and the watch were unveiled. It was like, wow, it was a discovery, and I believe that the movement or the watch at the time received a Time Zone award for the movement or for the newest launch. I don't quite remember, Mr. Scheufele. You can maybe correct me.
In fact, the watch received an award in Switzerland, which no longer exists, but it was Watch of the Year in 1996 or 1997. Sorry, and that was quite an award, quite an achievement at the time, and it in some instances, competitors didn't even expect this from Chopard, And in the very beginning, they were questioning whether this was really homemade, But I think in the meantime, we proved them wrong.
Absolutely.
I think what was incredible, it ticked a lot of boxes. It was in-house, which, as you mentioned, and it was just the very beginning of this whole desire for brands that today everybody's, talking about in-house. Close to 30 years ago, it was still a novel idea. It was slim. It had a micro rotor, absolutely beautiful, beautiful dial, lovely case. And one thing that was very important was the finishing. Once again, today, 30 years later, we talk a lot about the hand finish of a movement, which represents for a lot of collectors, and I agree with them, a sign of haute horlogerie. It really shows the effort and time that goes into it, especially when it's made by human hands, but not by machines. And there you had all these elements, and I think it was for the collecting community, for the horological collecting community, it was a total game changer on, I think, the way they also perceived Chopard, which entered this very elite circle of the horlogerie brands. Even though the watch was not a complicated watch per se, didn't have like complication. It had all the elements.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and I think when collectors look at it today, Chopard is very well accepted into that upper echelon of brands if you're looking for a special time-only piece or complication. But at the time, it was a big investment. Was there any pushback from your other family members to put that much attention into this segment of the industry?
Well, we took it step by step. And so there was it was not too much of a burden at the time, thank God. It was very time consuming though. It was a lot of effort had to be put into every production step that we had to create, because you have to imagine we started with a room not bigger this size where we are here. And basically, all the different crafts that we needed, we had to add one by one. Talking about decoration, we had no decoration department to begin with, And now, decoration is not an art that you can learn at watchmaking school. It's not taught there. Mm-hmm. So there are techniques, age-old techniques that have to be brought into a workshop, and then you have to have one teacher and then a number of pupils, and you have to work your way up to the level that you desire. And in my opinion, it had to be very high. So we were struggling, and then we looking at the machines, the R&D, and everything had to be put together one by one, and until we had this small manufacture allowing us to continue with new projects.
So your vision of movement, manufacturing, and production seems very tied to your love for horological history. Can you tell us a bit about where that interest in the history of watchmaking and timekeeping began?
Yeah, I believe it was 2006, we inaugurated our museum up in Fleurier called L.U.C. Mm-hmm. And when I was sorting out the section about chronometers, ship chronometers, I met someone, so to speak, called Berthoud.
Mm. Of course.
On the way, and that's really how the first contact was made, through the museum.
And what was it about Berthoud, Ferdinand Berthoud, that captivated you so much and led you to start the official rebirth of the brand in 2015?
Well, it was really a discovery in many ways, because Berthoud was someone that was born like 15 minutes away from Fleurier, mm-hmm. something I was not aware of in the beginning. And then looking at his exceptional career, as you could say career or whatever you want to call it, his journey from Fleurier to Paris, becoming a watchmaker to two kings and Napoleon, and the watchmaker of the French Navy. Mm-hmm. Being acknowledged watchmaker in France, I guess at the age of 24, he just freshly came from Fleurier, and what an achievement, I was saying to myself. And then I found all his literature. I found out about all the different books he published, mm-hmm. And the fact that he published books about how to make basically how to make a watch, how to make a and the further I went into the subject, the more fascinated I was. But then I realized that nobody really knew about him anymore, except, really very, let's say, serious watch and clock, clock collectors, but not really anyone into wristwatches at that time.
This year is the 10th anniversary of the rebirth of the Ferdinand Berthoud brand, as well as the 10th anniversary of Phillips Watches department. And I'm curious, Alex, from the outside, what was your reaction when you first heard that Chopard was investing in a new brand and creating Ferdinand Berthoud?
I remember when it was first announced, a few years before it was actually launched. And there was a lot of talk. We were trying to figure out what it was. It was one of the world's best kept secrets at the time. And it was incredible. Once again, 10 years ago, when the first timepiece came out with that kind of ship gimbal shape, the incredible movement with the Fusain chain, and then you had the constant force, and then it was. Once again, this is 10 years ago. It's not a long time, but it's a long time ago. Mm-hmm. And everything that timepiece packed in it, it was a watch lover's dream, basically. And what was fantastic was everything was hidden. Everything was taken out in the back. It wasn't like a show-off piece, let's make something and put everything on the dial. No, it had a tiny opening on the dial where you saw the Fusain chain, but everything else was going in the back. And once again, the hand finish, incredible. The technical prowess, incredible. The design didn't look like anything else that was made at the time. So it was a merge. It was a blend of techniques, of design, of old school watchmaking, but put in a rather modern way. And I think there, even though it was Berthoud was a revival brand. It was a brand which was leaning on a big, huge Geneva-based mainstream brand. It spoke immediately to the collectors of independent watchmaking, who they just didn't make the difference between established, mainstream, or an independent artisan, because even though Berthoud was obviously not making the watches, it was made by individual, independent style artisans. At least there was one watchmaker who's doing each piece, and I think it really opened the door for a whole new type of watchmaking. I think the whole something that you see today, a lot of these new watchmakers coming to the market are reproducing or replicating what we saw with Berthoud 10 years ago, which was the search for precision. The constant, any kind of constant force device, and I think it was actually a very, very influential timepiece when the first piece came out.
Yeah, I think Alex is exactly right. When I look at Ferdinand Berthoud over the past 10 years, the approach feels very singular. When you look at the finishing, the very academic and technical complications, it's something you have to invest your time to appreciate and understand. What guides your approach to kind of achieve that singularity?
Well, to simplify the philosophy, it boils down to the question that we always ask ourselves every time we think about a new movement, a new watch, or even on the way when we get lost. We ask ourselves, what would Berthoud have done? Or does this really fit in his philosophy of building his, and of course, always thinking about the ship chronometer side of things. And what struck me or still strikes me today, everything he did looked almost simple, almost pure, very pure, very well finished, but not overdone, and to the point. It's really kind of form follows function, but still in a way beautiful. And this is something, that's the guiding principle that we applied from the very beginning. And then it's always about, on the dial you find chronometry, Ferdinand Berthoud, so there's no question about everything that we present has to be chronometer certified, because that was his subject, precision, and so that is something that always has to be in the center of our attention. And yes, it's really, it's almost having conversations with him. And sometimes ideas come up, and then we say, oh no, he wouldn't have done that, so we won't do that. And basically, if you look at all his literature and there's still so much inspiration that we have enough subjects to grow on for the next 50 years, I guess.
That's promising.
I think the Naissance du Montre project is the perfect example of what makes the modern Ferdinand Berthoud brand so exceptional. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yes, I will probably have to go back to my encounter with Mr. Dufour at the time, and of course Stephen Forsey, and I was shown the Naissance d'une Montre 1 was all about, and had the pleasure to meet Monsieur Boulanger, and I was very impressed, and they were asking me, would you be interested with Berthoud to follow in this footstep, and I started thinking about all of this, and what immediately came to my mind is the philosophy of Berthoud was to share his knowledge, to teach what he knew. So I said this has to be a major part of what we'll do, and I also came to the conclusion that sharing knowledge involves a number of people. It involves craftsmen, young craftsmen, pupils, teachers, this kind of relationship. So I came to the conclusion that we should, if we were to undertake a project, we should involve not one person, but a number of people from different crafts, and all of them together should be building one watch in handmade or using machines, basically, that were not computer aided, or no electronics, or no CNC or anything. Basically, that was the underlying idea, and we went back to Naissance du Montre. We had an exchange, and we agreed upon this principle, and but for that moment we didn't have the actual watch in mind, of course. But we have a beautiful pocket watch chronometer from Berthoud in our museum, and this was the déclic. This was what we thought would be the perfect underlying principle. And so we got to work on a basic design, on a basic idea. And this was the beginning of Naissance du Montre 3. And at the end, now about 80 people from the Berthoud team and the Chopard team together worked basically 6 years on this project. We should not forget that we had 1 year where not much advanced because of COVID.
Of course.
So we have to deduct 1 year from this. But we're talking about, I don't know, 11,000, 12,000 hours and a huge effort made by a whole group of people. Maybe it's really noteworthy to say that the machines that we had in mind, we didn't have them anymore. We had them before, but we had sold them, and I mean they were. So we had to recommission source machines, recommission them, and actually find. And in our case, we found young people who were really keen to work on these machines and work on these components, which were very difficult to make. So they needed to be very precise. And there were so many anecdotes. We could stay for 1 hour and tell you. But everyone was highly motivated, and it was a project. I could not imagine in the beginning that this would become such a project that would unite everyone, and despite certain difficulties with. I mean, we have a thermocompensated balance wheel, which had never been made basically for a wristwatch, which we found in Berthoud's writings, but we had to interpret this, and it was obviously also handmade, and we went through I don't know how many prototypes and how many problems until we reached the final.
I think that's what I think is most incredible. No CNC machine, no computer-aided design, and Phillips will have the special honor of auctioning off a unique example. Alex, maybe you can tell us a bit about that.
I think what's fascinating is that with this piece, from what Mr. Scheufele is explaining, we're going back to the origins of chronometry. Once again, precision. Making things by hand. And I think, we're delighted to have been chosen to offer this piece. I think it shows the fact that we Phillips were part of the watch community. We're watch lovers. I mean, everybody in this office, you know what, we spend our money on buying watches. So exactly. So I think it's having these type of pieces, having modern interpretation of I won't say a modern interpretation, but I say a modern watch that is made in the very, very, very old way, because even 50, 60, 70 years ago, they did have machines, but not 200 years ago. But having something made by hand, I mean, the whole idea of the Naissance du Montre was the transmission of knowledge to students of watchmaking schools to learn these techniques that are not or no longer taught in school. And it's a total shame to say that, you know, some things are not taught, and maybe after a generation totally forgotten. And thank goodness that there are these projects that maintain what we love so much about watchmaking, which is, you know, the knowledge, of the hands, the substance of what goes on with the hands, not the machines, with the hands, which can continue. And then you have this younger generation of watchmakers that will continue, and they will transmit, etc. So watches of this type, and this Naissance du Montre 3 is one of those pieces that will keep watchmaking as we know it and as we love it alive.
Absolutely. And I think when I look at the Ferdinand Berthoud brand and all your work there, what strikes me is it's all very artisanal. And I can't help but see some parallels with another passion of yours, which is wine. I believe you have a special biodynamic process that you developed through your winemaking. Is that correct?
Yes, well, the approach we have with winemaking, and sometimes I'm not sure if I should have started this on top of all the other things that I do, but I have a certain passion for wine, yes, and I always was dreaming about actually producing wine myself. When we arrived at the vineyard that we fell in love with in southwest of France, in Monestier, my wife and me, very quickly decided that we had to change our way of growing wine and making the wine, and change to organic growth. That was easily said, but very difficult to do. It was a bit like starting a manufacturer again. Similar complexities and challenges. But in 2017, we were certified organic. We work in a biodynamic way, which is even higher approach than organic. The wine has much improved, but the parallels I can see between making wine and making watches, and indeed watch movements, you have to be very consistent, very precise, and you have to go out of your way if you want to make a good wine. Now, the only difference will be that you are not alone. Watchmaking is a human experience. Winemaking is not only human experience, but you're dependent on the climate, on the weather, on all of these things which you can't influence. And you can't even correct. You have to accept. And that makes you humble, that makes you, that really brings you closer to nature and closer to, a number of problems we're facing today, which not everybody seems to acknowledge. But unfortunately, I think we are really facing these problems ever since I started making wine. And, but I wouldn't want to miss this passion of mine. But there is a saying that we use for the vineyard, is what you do with time, time will respect. And this was not, I didn't invent this, this was Rodin, the sculptor, the French sculptor. And I think that really stays very much true to watchmaking and winemaking.
I mean, you need to have a lot of patience and resilience, because making a watch movement,
yes,
it takes as much as time, I guess, as wanting to make a very good.
Basically, if you plant a vineyard today, you won't really know whether you made the right choice of grape until about 7 years from planting the wine.
Yeah, that'd be.
And if you undertake a major project in watchmaking, it's about the same. Well, we're talking about NM3, same thing. Yeah.
Mr. Scheufele, thank you so much for joining us today. We look forward to presenting the Naissance du Montre during the upcoming Decade 1 auction in Geneva in November, and to sharing more stories just like this on the Phillips Watches podcast. To all our viewers, thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.